Good afternoon and welcome to Tea with Ann Marie, where I'm spilling the tea on business, politics, community news, and more. Now, over the last couple of months, you've heard me interview several people in the business community, but it is that time of year. Political season is getting hot and heavy, especially in our local elections as well as our gubernatorial elections. So, today, I am joined by a candidate who I have known for probably almost 20 years. And I'm super excited to introduce him to many who may not know him and reintroduce him to those who do know him. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Corey Smith. Welcome, Corey.
Hey, good morning or afternoon. How's it going?
Good afternoon. Welcome to Tea with Ann Marie. I know that you are running for school board member District 7 for Palm Beach County Schools.
Correct.
I want to kind of hop right in. Congrats on your
Okay.
candidacy, first of all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It takes a lot of courage to really get out there and put yourself out there to run for public office and to be a public servant. Now, I know that being a public servant isn't new to you because you've done quite a bit in our community over the years. And we go back to the Urban League Young Professional days and
Long time, long time ago. It's amazing how fast these years go. Yeah.
I know. It feels like it was just yesterday.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, why don't you tell my audience a little bit about yourself and your background?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. To the audience, I'm a lifelong resident of Palm Beach County, born and raised in Riviera Beach, live in Riviera Beach still. I've never left Riviera Beach except for the 7 years that it took for me to complete 4 years of undergrad at Morehouse and 3 years of law school at the University of Florida. So, this community is near and dear to me. I'm an attorney by trade. I've been practicing for about 24 years now. I've been doing education law specifically for about the last 20 years. As a matter of fact, I started my career off, my legal career, because when I got out of college, I actually taught school. I taught school for a brief period of time down in Boynton at South Tech, back in the mid 90s. I'm dating myself again, but that was fresh out of college, mid 90s. My first job was teaching in an alternative ed program at a middle school. So, for a middle school alternative ed program at South Tech. But after law school, I came home and started working at the public defender's office. I'd interned there, during summers when I was in law school, and I felt like I needed to give back to the community and work on behalf of those, frankly, who I left behind, from the neighborhoods, being from Riviera Beach. A lot of my peers, made some different choices. Maybe they felt like they didn't have choices. Got caught up in the criminal justice system. So I always felt like the beginning of my career was the right thing to do there, to come home and, try to help that situation, make sure that equal justice is provided, and make sure that evidence was present in each case. I tried about, if you combine jury and non-jury trials and hearings, I tried over 100 cases. I did that for about 4.5 years, and then I got a job at the school district as an associate counsel in 2002. They wanted somebody who had criminal law background because they wanted to provide due process for students who were facing expulsion. So I supervised that process, reviewed every last one of them. Some of them we kicked out, some of them most of them we went forward with. But I did that for about 2 years, and then I left and started my own practice because that's something that I always had wanted to do. And then I went back to the school district again in 2007, stayed there for about 4 years, left, and then started my practice, which, funny, my Facebook memories today came up. Today is the 11-year anniversary of me opening my practice, my most recent practice, which has been 11 years now. So, I do education.
Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
great.
Thank you. So been here in the community for a long time, pushing and fighting on behalf of our folks. That's pretty much what I do.
Thank you for sharing that background. I think that's so important. So before we kind of dive into your candidacy, I really want to, because I'm all about trying to educate folks on why it's important for local elections. So before we even talk about your stance and why you're running, can you give the audience, especially because there's a lot of parents out there that may not be as engaged in the
Mhm.
school board, like they may interact with their children's teachers and principals, assistant principals, but they may not understand the role of a school board member. So first, can you educate us on the role and importance of school board members first before we talk about why you are running for this role?
All right. So in Florida, right, I'm not going to start with the whole framework of the Florida Constitution and that kind of thing. That gets too much in the weeds, and I've been criticized for doing that. Um, in our county, the school board is the 7-member body that governs the entire school district. We are the 10th largest school district in the country, right? So, and we're also the largest employer in the county. So the school board is actually the governing body over the school district. We hire the superintendent, we hire the chief counsel, and then the superintendent hires all the lowers. There are 7 board members. I'm running for one of the seats, which is District 7. District 7 encompasses the traditional Black community of Palm Beach County, east of I-95. So we set policy on behalf of the district. We enact policies, procedures, hire and fire teachers, uh, do real estate contracts for acquisition to build schools, renovating schools, dealing with charter school issues because the school district actually supervises charter schools, or they have oversight power over the charter schools, and just a whole myriad of issues that anything that deals with schools, the school board actually governs over. So I'm running to be one of the members who actually has oversight over that. And for the district that's represented by, well, the district that encompasses District 7, which is the district that I grew up in and currently reside in, it's huge because, as we know, can't sugarcoat this. Historically, our communities have been underserved by all institutions. The school district isn't exempt from that. Going all the way back to when Bill Holland sued the school board of Palm Beach County to get his son into Northport Elementary. So we got to have somebody in the seat that represents our community, that understands not only the history but understand where we need to go. So in order to provide equity and inclusion for all of our kids. So that's the main I'm running, because number one, I just outlined some of my experience, but we need somebody in that seat who has the experience and the understanding and the historical, a historical background to understand where we need to go in the future and to be an advocate on behalf of all kids.
I think those are great points. And I think school boards, particularly in Florida, has come under a lot of heat over the last couple of years,
Oh yeah.
specifically with the pandemic. Everything from mask mandates and school board members being penalized and threatened to not be paid because of their stance on students wearing masks. There's school safety challenges. There's, equity in schools. We saw the disparities through the pandemic, from school lunch to access to computers and internet, to just a myriad of challenges. And I know when you really drill down to low and moderate income communities, which your district serves a lot of low and moderate income communities that have not just African American residents, but Latina residents and other residents as well. So you have kind of a big job as a school board member, and a lot to deal with from as high as the state level down to local levels. So let's talk about some of those challenges and where you stand on them, because I think it's important for parents and the community as a whole to be informed in choosing the best candidate for the job. So let's start with school safety. We know that that's a big issue around the country, especially with gun violence, mass shootings, officer involved shootings. It comes It's not just students bringing guns to schools. It's, something happens at a school, like, the recent incident, and there was an officer involved incident with that. How do you see better protecting schools, the campus as a whole, the students, the faculty and staff? How do you see as you contributing as a board member to improving school safety and ensuring that students and faculty are safe?
Well, and prayers to every student in the county who's, when we grew up, we didn't have to deal with this. We didn't have drills where we had to go do active shooter drills where we're afraid somebody's going to come into school and shoot everybody. The most we had to deal with was fights, maybe an occasional knife, and every blue moon somebody might have brought a gun to school to show, but never to actually, enact violence upon the student body. So, but obviously school safety is if one of the biggest issues. So we've got to employ a holistic approach to school safety starting from the top and going all the way down to the bottom, and then from the bottom all the way to the top. What I mean is, from administrators all the way down to the students, and then from the students all the way to the top. Meaning, students are the people who know what's going on in the school more than anybody. Kids know their peers. They know the beefs. They know, the communities that they live in. They know what spills over from the community into the schools. So we need to make sure that we have an all hands on deck approach when it comes to, reporting, and make it so that kids can, report incidents or report things anonymously so that they won't be bullied, number one, or retaliated against. From the administrative side, we obviously got to make sure that our school police are well trained, well prepared, well equipped. One of the things I know that's been a criticism is that our school police communication devices aren't up to snuff, and I know they're looking into rectifying that. I would continue to support rectifying that issue. We need to secure the perimeter of the campuses. I know that they're doing mesh around all the gates, so you can't completely see, and that adds another layer of defense. Because if you can't see, you can't plan. I agree with that. I think that we need to make sure that our entrances and exits are secured and locked. I know that there are new school designs that take this into account when they talk about locking the gates, and there's different mechanisms that are in use. So we need to, number one, employ those in the new schools, and then retrofit our existing schools so that they're up to that new standard. Inside the schools, we need to make sure that all the doors are locked. And that everybody is vigilant about, meaning all school-based staff, faculty, cafeteria workers, janitors. We can't have a lapse in any, way, shape, or form, because that one person who leaves the door cracked for somebody thinking, oh, I was just leaving the door open so that he can come in because I know he's coming back. That's the door that a shooter can get into. And because this stuff is unpredictable, you can't have those lapses. So we have to have, like I said, an all hands on deck approach. So, I like that we gave the school police a raise, because just like every other profession, during COVID, we're witnessing a mass exodus of all employees, and school police, that's included. So giving them a raise is the right thing to do, so that we can attract and retain, quality officers. What I don't want to see is that I don't want to see our schools turn into militarized type institutions. We need to make sure that our schools remain educational institutions. So I don't agree with metal detectors. I don't agree with arming teachers. I think that's one of the most ludicrous ideas I've ever heard. Teachers have enough things on their plate to deal with than having to deal with the extra burden of possibly having a gun in the class that they got to secure. And then, it's so asinine. If teenagers know that there's a gun in the room, they're going to be plotting on how to get it. And that's just something that teachers and administrators shouldn't have to deal with. That, I mean, the idea that we should even consider that is crazy to me. Instead of metal detectors, I would favor a random wanding policy. I think there's some research out there, and I think all these solutions I'm talking about are research based. I think there's some research out there that says that a random wanding policy has a better effect than just overall metal detectors, because you can plan around metal detectors. You cannot plan around random wanding because they're unpredictable, because of the unpredictable nature of them. So, those are some of the things I want to see happen in our schools. But, we have to have a trusting environment, so that the kids trust the adults. So, we have to have better relations, in that respect.
Awesome. Now you mentioned shortages, and man, there's a shortage of law enforcement in schools. There's a shortage of bus drivers.
Yeah.
There's a shortage
Yeah.
of teachers. I mean, and I know it's not just Palm Beach County. It's not the
It's
only place
nationwide.
that's having this challenge. It's statewide. It's actually nationwide, where I'm seeing, there's a shortage of substitute teachers, where they're asking parents to become substitute teachers.
Mhm.
Um, how do you plan to address these different types of shortages? Of course, we know a big part of it is also the high cost of living that has,
Mhm.
increased in Palm Beach County as a whole, where people are like either looking for ways to relocate and move away to a
Right.
better, to a better living, affordable living standard. So how does a school board member, and how do you plan to address these types of shortages? Because without these, it's very hard to run schools effectively and protect and teach students in the best way possible. Students, there's no shortage of students, but
Right.
there's definitely
That's growing.
shortages of those who
I've done
support
my
the
part. I've done my part in supplying students for the school district of Palm Beach County.
right.
I have 4 children. They're all matriculated through Palm Beach County schools, and I got one on elementary, middle, and high school level right now. So yeah. But to your question, we're in tough times. And like you said, it's not just here; it's statewide and nationwide. So, one of the things I talk about is the attack on public education, and it's not a new attack, and it's not new to DeSantis in the Republican legislature right now. He's just the latest iteration of it. It's been going on for decades, going all the way back to Jeb Bush. I protested 2020, oh my gosh, 22 years ago, when Jeb Bush got elected, and he proposed that AAA plus program when he was bringing in all the high stakes testing, and, talking about getting rid of teachers, and, cracking down on the unions. I went to Miami and protested that then. But, moving forward to this year in the post pandemic world, and inflation, cost of living increases, I brought all that up to say that the big problem is Tallahassee. We're just not getting enough money from Tallahassee. We are 48th or 49th in per pupil student spending in the country. We are the third most populated state in this country. That the math ain't mathing, right? So, but the question is, how do we address that at a local level? So we've gone through the budget, and when I was at the school district, I've seen, zero-based departments. They zero budget the department, and then you justify your positions by the need and by the work that they perform. I've been a part of that before, and I know the stress that causes on employees, and I also know the stress that are on bus drivers and teachers and janitors, because from a parental perspective, because I have 3 kids that are in school, and they all catch the bus. And when I talk to bus drivers, they say, hey, we got 45 routes and 20 drivers. Do the math on that. So that's why your kid is 2.5 hours late coming home after school. So how do we rectify that locally? We have to do what's called more of a required local effort. That's mandated by state law, but I think we have to go above and beyond, because we can't control Tallahassee locally. We have to do whatever we can do here to roll up our sleeves and supplement what we can supplement, so that we can pay all our workers a better wage and a better, a better salary, so that they can live, and then so that we can attract and retain new ones. Again, we're in tough times. That might not always be completely possible. The teachers only got a 3% raise. The police got a 5% raise. In a perfect world, I want to see a return to step raises. I was in the district when step raises were still a thing in the district. That means that they got a cost of living wage every year. I mean, a cost of living raise every year. And I would like to see that for all classes of employees. So, that's how we do it. That's why I support the referendum that's coming back up. I don't mind paying a couple extra dollars on my property taxes so that we can fund the most important institutions in our communities. Because if we don't fund these things, they're not going to be up to snuff, and they're not up to snuff, they're not going to serve our kids. So that's it for me in a nutshell. How we address
No,
that.
I like that you want to bring back I don't know, if you just step up.
Step raises. They were called step
Step
raises.
raises. Okay, step
Yeah.
raises. I think that's a good idea, because that's one of the issues, and this is across industries, where, the cost of living in Florida has continuously increased. This isn't a new increase. It has
Mhm.
continuously increased over the years. Yet the median income for families and individuals has remained literally the same for the last almost 20 plus years. So
Mhm. Mhm.
that is insane. Those of us who live here and have lived here and worked here for a while, we're feeling it. We're feeling
Yeah.
it. People who are migrating here, they're coming with bigger salaries. They're coming with, a lot more disposable income. So they're not feeling the pinch as people that have resided here for a long time is feeling. So I do like that. I'm totally in support of that. And I hope that's a move that happens, because I think not just the teachers, but everyone who works within the school system deserves to be able to have their salaries not just increased by performance. That's super important, but also, as the cost of living is shifting, they're able to balance that out as well. So I do like that. Switching gears a little bit, there's a lot of talk about equity.
Mhm.
And so tell me, and those who are listening, how do you create more equitable opportunities for Palm Beach County students, especially in the districts that you are looking to represent, in the areas you're looking to represent?
So, in a few ways. And when we talk about equity, you're not talking about taking something from one group and giving it to another. That's not what we're talking about. And we're talking about equalizing. If you can remember the graphic of the fence, there are three kids: a tall kid, a short kid, in the middle, and a medium sized kid, and they're all trying to look over the fence. And the short kid gets the tallest ladder because he needs it to be able to see over the fence. The middle kid gets a smaller ladder, and the tall kid gets a really short step. So that, but they're all able to see over the fence at an equal level. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about when we talk about equity. So when we talk about, in this, again, I can get professorial on this, but we start talking about historically impoverished and historically underserved communities, like the ones that are in District 7. We have to do extra to help those students out and bring them up to snuff, because when you have areas of concentrated poverty, you have parents who are less involved in their kids' education because they're looking to make ends meet. And we have to understand that, empathize with that, and then employ solutions that supplement what's already there so that they can, quote unquote, see over the fence. So in elementary schools, what I want to see happen. I took a visit up, I've prepared for this job. I took a visit up to the conservatory school up in North Palm Beach, and there's an innovative teaching method that they use up there. It's called project-based learning, and without getting into the weeds, it basically they involve the kids. They use the state standards, but then they take a project and they have the kids hands-on learn it through the project. So they're learning the standards through hands-on learning. That's how you retain things more. I want to see that kind of innovation in schools in Riviera Beach, downtown West Palm Beach, Lake Worth, Boynton, Delray. You know, those kinds of methods, that kind of innovation can help reach our kids and make them active participants in their education.
Can I
Um,
just chime in on that?
yeah.
Because I firsthand experience. Okay, so a few years ago, I started volunteering at Turning Points Academy.
Mm,
And just going in to speak to the girls, love it, beautiful, beautiful group of girls that just has been classified wrongly.
yeah. Yeah.
um,
School to prison
and
pipeline. Yep.
exactly. And so I remember, like, there was this one particular young lady who she didn't really talk to strangers. She didn't want to, like, she wouldn't open up. She wouldn't, and when, I asked her to say her name, she wouldn't say her name. And then the student said her name and she kind of like popped off, like, told you not to say my name type thing. And I was like, okay. And, a couple of times visiting, she, I saw that she's pretty artistic, but just still, not really having it. A few weeks later, I launched a tech girls program with the Village of Wellington. And it was in a Boys and Girls Club. We got some of the students from the Boys and Girls Club and some of the students from the neighborhood to participate. Well, lo and behold, her and her sister was in this program. It's a 10-week program. It was hands-on. It was having them research and create technology and apps for their peers. I saw a complete transformation. This young lady talked. She led her team. She was creative. I mean, if you saw her in a group presentation, you would have thought that this was an Ivy League young lady. And it was a night and day transformation. And I was like, wait a minute. She's in the wrong environment.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can't employ a one size fits all type of model. Kids learn differently. So we have to figure out how they learn. It's kind of like that old, well, it's not old. Well, I guess it is old. When they start talking about the 5 love languages, when you're talking about relationships, and find your partner's love language, we need to find the kids' educational language, right? So
yes,
if
I agree.
And figure out the best ways that they learn, and then meet them where they are so that they can learn the material pretty much. And if we got to actively engage them, you got to find a way to reach that kid. And where you saw her, whatever that was that they were doing, because it was hands-on, that's where she was engaged. And when she's engaged, like you said, you saw a 180-degree turnaround.
Completely different person. Completely.
It's and I hate to say this, but this ain't new. This isn't new. We've been saying this for decades. It's just that we've got to have, I tend to think that society looks for the path of least resistance, in all aspects. So if it's just easier to put this one size fits all program in this school, and then, kids, you got to conform. And if you don't conform, then you're just not able to learn. That's not how we should do things, especially when you have children who are coming to school dealing with all kinds of different traumas. Food insecurity, housing insecurity, post-COVID, maybe lost a job, inflation, rent went up, $800-900, so they might be homeless now. So, there are all kinds of things that students are dealing with in District 7. I'm talking about, because we're talking about moderate and low income folks, and that's what's going on. We've got to take a step back and see how we can meet their needs. So that's what I mean when I talk about equity. And we also got to look out for kids who aren't going to be college bound. And we got to return to looking at career and technical training so that they can have some skills that they can stack upon graduation so that they can get into a career and provide for themselves. We're currently not doing that on a large scale, on as large a scale as I'd like to see it. And I like to see more things going on, like the Fire Academy at Palm Beach Lakes. Beautiful thing going on there. Want to see that grow and expand. Going to fight for that to grow and expand. I want to see programs in the city of Riviera Beach that have some synergy with the Port of Palm Beach, that connect the students to the industries that occur at the port, so that they know that the community that they grew up in, like the one I grew up in, less than a mile away from that port, where there's $1 billion of business going through there every year and $1 billion of commerce at least. We need to connect those kids to those industries so that they can have a stake in their own community and a stake in the future right here where they live. Kids shouldn't have to feel like they gotta graduate and then leave to go to Atlanta or Texas or Charlotte or wherever the new mecca is for Black folks, to try to earn a living. And I think if we do that, we connect, if we create those synergies between the industries and the schools, then we'll be able to better do that.
No, and that brings me to, I got so many points, but I know we got to wrap up soon. You saying connect to industries. And how does a school board member, how do you plan as a school board member to ensure that you're connected to the business community? Because let's be real, I'm an employer
Mhm.
and I'm employing the next generation. And I need to understand that because I plan on being an employee for a while. I'm still pretty young, so I'm going to be around for a minute. But not just me as a small business, but you have larger companies and institutions who are looking for great talent. So, how do you plan to connect with the business and industry community to ensure that as a policymaker, as a education leader, that you're hearing what's needed from skills and opportunities and emerging markets and industries? You're able to be a part of that and be able to bring that back to your role as a policymaker. How do you plan on making that connection? You kind of touched on it a
Um,
little bit, but I want you to go a little
well,
deeper.
well, just straight up communication. I mean, you know me, Ann Marie. I'm one of the nicest, friendliest guys around. I can have a conversation with anybody, whether I agree or disagree with you. Um, give on a given issue. So, it's on me as a board member to reach out to the business community and, have an open door policy if they, when they want to have input on issues, and then try to connect them, to the actual administrators who actually carry out the plan. Um, I've met with several members of the business community in this campaign, had great conversations with them, and I'll continue to develop those relationships to make this happen.
Awesome. So I know we're short on time. I want you to tell the audience what makes you the best candidate for those who vote in your district or those who are looking for candidates to support, whether volunteering financially or just helping get out the vote. What makes you the better candidate or the best candidate? Because there are a couple of candidates, other candidates running for
Mhm.
this seat. What makes you the best candidate for Palm Beach County voters and you're in District 7?
Well, part of my campaign slogan, or whatever you want to call it, is that I'm uniquely qualified, and I don't. That's not just a slogan; it's the truth. Um, I'm the only candidate with the level of experience in the educational system in this race that I have. I'm the only one who dedicates over 50% of his private practice to educational law. I've done that for the last 11 years, and I've been in education law for the last 20 years. So I understand education from a legal perspective. I understand it from a policymaker's perspective because I've actually written and enacted policies for the school district of Palm Beach County and for other schools around this state. I'm the only person in this race, who's been a governing board member already for a school. I served on the governing board at Inlet Grove for about 8 or 9 years, till about 3 years ago, I think it was. So I've actually performed the work of a school board member already, because what a governing board member does is we enact policy, we oversee and manage budgets, we adjust budgets when they need to be adjusted in real time, based on the facts on the ground. We deal with employee relations issues. We deal with, curriculum, student achievement. We have to make sure that the students are up to snuff in terms of the test. We have to make sure that all the teachers are certified. The same exact role that a school board member performs. I have that experience for a number of years. I'm also, you talk about ability to make decisions. I am a special magistrate in the city of Riviera Beach over code enforcement. I've also have prior elected official experience as a member of the Thousand Oaks Community Development District, where we literally, held the taxes down in our community, but provided the services and supported the infrastructure for the surrounding communities on the Congress corridor. So I'm the only candidate with that kind of experience. I'm also a parent. Like I said before, I have, so I see it from a parental's perspective. So I understand the challenges that parents face, and I understand the challenges that we faced during COVID. It was very difficult. Again, elementary, middle, and high school, all during COVID, all in separate, different areas of the house at one time on the computer. My youngest son has autism. So I or my wife literally had to sit with him from 8 a.m. to the end of school at 2:30 every day, on the computer. That was hard. That caused a lot of angst. So I understand what parents have had to deal with over the last several years. So, you combine all that with the love that I have with this community and the stances that I've taken on this community all the way, going, I mean, I can go back to when I protested, in high school, when my high school closed, when North Shore closed, we went down to the school district to protest that. We protested Jeb Bush. We protested the 2000 election. We protested when Trump calls, Haitian folks, well, the nation of Haiti, S-hole country. I was on the front lines when Corey Jones was killed by Newman Raja. I was on the front lines then. I always have been on the front lines. So I take that advocacy, combine it with the experience that I have, and we'll merge it into a great school board member. I'm the only one in this race that has this experience. So that's why people should vote for me.
Well, thank you. And how does one learn more about your campaign? If they want to sign up to volunteer, if they want to register, if they want to donate, how do they reach you? How do they get in touch with you, Mr. Smith?
Hey, we always like donations. We need it because we're this is not an easy fight. This is a battle, and it's going to go all the way down to the wire, and I think it's going to be close. So you can go to www.corey, COREYFOR, then the number 7.com, Corey7.com. I have a Facebook page. It's a campaign to elect Corey Smith for school board. You can reach me primarily through those two. And, I'll be sure to get back to you.
So Corey7.com. There you have it, Mr. Corey Smith, who is a candidate for school board member District 7. My goal is to ensure that the audience is in tune and they are informed and they can make the best decision for them and their families. So Corey, thank you so much for joining Tea with Ann Marie. Really appreciate all that you've shared. We could go on and on because there's so many other topics that we didn't get a chance to get to. But
this is what I do. This is literally what I do.
Absolutely. But if you want to hear more from Corey, please connect with him online, reach out to him on social media, DM him, and I'm sure he can answer any questions that you may have or concerns that you may have, especially if you are a parent with children in Palm Beach County school system. You need to understand and know the role of your school board member and how they can be an active advocate for you. Your vote matters. So please be involved, get engaged. Election day is August 23rd. That is not only a school board member election, it's also a primary for the gubernatorial race for the Democratic candidates, as well as senator, as well as congressional representatives. So it's a primary, as well as, other, I think school board. Are there any other?
There's some judicial races, and I think the port's on there too.
Yes, the Port of Palm Beach is on there and several judicial races. So it's time for you to read up on the judges and make your informed decision, because we want to also make sure we have good judges to support. So continue to stay tuned in to Tea with Ann Marie. I will continue to spill the tea on business, politics, community news, and more. And we'll have additional candidates as we go into the August 23rd election. So stay tuned, and please be sure to like this video and share it, and someone else will benefit from it, and also subscribe to all of my networks. Stay safe and have a happy 4th of July weekend, everyone. And thank you again, Corey Smith, for joining me on Tea with Ann Marie.
Thank you for having me. Vote for Corey Smith. Happy 4th.